Good morning, guys. Welcome to our assembly. Today is Wednesday, and you've probably noticed that something has been happening on the playground after school each day as you've gone home. And that is a bit of a clue about the global goal that we're thinking about in our assemblies this week. So we talked about this on Monday, and I'm going to put just a little hint on the screen for you. Make sure I've got the right one. There we go. Right. Here is a bit of an image for you. What is that global goal that we're talking about in our assemblies this week? That's right. It is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Really, really important because it is all to do with remembrance. Okay, so today in our assembly, we're going to talk a little bit about remembrance and what that means and how we can remember in the right way. So have a look at these two flowers. I wonder if you can tell me what they've got in common, or even if you know what either one of them is. Well, the red one, the one on the right, is a poppy. And you've seen that because lots of people have been wearing poppies. People have been buying the slap bands or the wristbands or whatever. But the one on the left, the orange one, is a marigold. And these are both symbols of remembrance, both flowers that are used by people to remember people around the world. Now, in our assembly on Monday, we talked about all the different things that we had that could help us to remember things and places and people. But today we're going to think about these two flowers and how people around the world use these two flowers for remembrance. So, the poppy. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses row on row. And the poppy became a symbol of remembrance after the First World War. Now, during World War I, much of the fighting took place in Western Europe. The countryside was absolutely blasted, bombed, fought over repeatedly, and beautiful landscapes turned to mud, bleak and barren scenes where little or nothing could grow. And there was a real exception to all this bleakness, the bright red Flanders poppies. And these flowers flourished. They really grew in the middle of so much chaos and destruction, growing in thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And in spring of 1915, so over 100 years ago, shortly after losing a friend in Ypres, a Canadian doctor called Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae was moved by the sight of these poppies, and that inspiration led him to write the poem, a very, very famous poem that's used every year at Remembrance called In Flanders Fields. And in the UK, we wear poppies in November to remember those who served and sacrificed as a sign of hope for a peaceful future. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to actually see the poppy because the paper poppies are quite large. My metal poppy is on my lanyard. Some people have got poppy zip ties. Some people have got them on their wrists. So we see it in lots of different ways, but that poppy is very, very important to everybody who wears it because we're remembering about people who died. Now, this one is the marigold. Okay, now the marigold is also a symbol of remembrance, helping us remember that the UK wasn't alone. Millions of people from pre-partition India, including the areas that are now called Pakistan and Bangladesh, served alongside Britain in World War I and in World War II. And the marigold is very special in India, where it's often used at important occasions like weddings and religious festivals. And the saffron colour of the flowers has been described as the colour of sacrifice. And this extract is from a poem called The Gift of India by Sarojini Naidu, in which she explores India's contributions to the First World War. Scattered like shells on Egyptian sands, they lie with pale brows and brave broken hands. They're strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. And there's lots of very strong images in that. There's lots and lots to think about how people use these images of remembrance. And we have lots of different pictures of poppies. Now, although the tradition of remembrance began after the First World War, it continued to include the service and the sacrifice of people fighting for and alongside the UK and the Commonwealth in every conflict since then. So we're not just thinking about the First World War, we're thinking about any fighting. So it could be the Second World War, it could be the Gulf War, it could be the Falklands War. There's lots, and it's not just about fighting. We have to remember what people did for us, but it's also remembering what they did. So what are we going to do about it? And that's going to be a lot of what we do in class throughout this week, thinking about how can we make our school peaceful. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at our next slide. So remembrance is remembering all of those people. It's a human cost, both for the people fighting and for the people living in the countries involved. And remembrance is the act of stopping and remembering those people and actually hoping for a more peaceful future. And we'll talk a little bit more about that right at the very end of the assembly, about hoping for a peaceful future. Right. So who do we remember? We remember the service and sacrifice of the armed forces, people who have fought or supported the soldiers, airmen, sailors from the UK, the Commonwealth, and the countries who fought alongside us, our allies, in the First and Second World War, in the Falklands, in Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq, and more. And we remember all those who've supported them, who worked in munitions factories, women who took on jobs to keep their countries running, and the men and women of the resistance as well. Right. And we also remember the families who have lost loved ones or who are caring for injured and recovering veterans, because it's not just about the impact on the soldiers, it's about the impact on absolutely everybody who is involved. And while we're not at war, terrorist acts still take place, and our emergency services are the first to arrive to help the victims. So the police, firemen, ambulance crews all do an amazing job when there are acts of violence, not wars, but actual acts of violence where things happen, where people make wrong choices and commit acts of terrorism. So we remember the people who aren't members of the armed forces as well, but have lost their lives as a result of war and terrorism. So civilians, people who aren't soldiers. And there are lots of ways to remember. And the most popular form of remembrance is wearing a poppy. It's a symbol of remembrance, and it's saying that by wearing that poppy, I hope for a better future. I hope that we can make this place better than it was before. Now, people attend remembrance services and events all over the country. And the National Service of Remembrance at the Cenotaph in London is held on Remembrance Sunday, the closest Sunday to the 11th of November. And the 11th of November is this Thursday. And the service is attended by senior members of the royal family, and the government, representatives of the Commonwealth, and there are church services held on Remembrance Sunday in places of worship, community services, so that people can get together and actually remember what happened together with other people. Now, remembrance can take place at any time of the year. There are, this is a picture of the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. And it's a special garden filled with trees, which welcomes people who want to remember in a peaceful environment. And there's local memorials across the UK. Lots of people use these memorials in their local library to find out about the contribution of their family members that made to the First and Second World Wars. And we have our memorial in our school library as well. Okay. Now, at 11 a.m. on the 11th of November, which is called Armistice Day, when the Armistice Treaty was signed to say we are not going to fight anymore. People across the country stop what they're doing and stay silent for 2 minutes to remember all the people affected by war and to hope for a peaceful future. Now, tomorrow you're going to do that in class. Okay, we're not going to get together just because we're going to try and reduce a little bit of mixing if we can. So you're going to have that 2-minute silence in class. And then after that, there's going to be the chance to talk a little bit about what we're going to do about remembrance. Okay, so we remember the past. We remember all the people who've served and sacrificed, been affected by war. And we think about today and the people who are fighting for our way of life. And we look forward to the future and we hope it will be peaceful. And there's one word in that we can do something about. And that word is hope. Okay. Now, you might have already done this in class. You might not have done yet. And you might be doing it later this week. But one of the things that we're going to do in school is think about how we can make this something positive. Okay, so remembrance can be sad. People died, and that's an awful thing. Wars are terrible. And we can say, we remember these people and just be sad about it. Or we can say, we hope for a better future. Well, we hope there's no more wars. And we can say, we're not going to start wars, but I'm a teacher. I'm not going to start a war. I can't. But what we can do is we can think about what we're doing to help make the world a peaceful place. Now, I can't go out to another country and tell everybody to stop fighting. And to be honest, they wouldn't listen to me if I did. But we are helping here, and you are helping here. You can't go out to that other country. You are helping right here by making our school a peaceful place. Okay? That's really, really important because things start small. Okay? They start small and they ripple out. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about what we do to make school peaceful. Could it be that you smile at somebody? Could it be that you say good morning to somebody who you don't normally say good morning to? Or when you're having an argument over a football on playgrounds, you take a deep breath and go, yeah, all right, we'll share it. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said what I did. These aren't easy things to do. You might feel really cross, really upset. And that argument, that fallout is not peaceful. So what are we going to do to make our school a peaceful place? And we can make it welcoming. Wars can be about religious differences, racial differences, about discrimination. So we can make sure that everybody is welcome at Wincham. We can do those things that make sure that no matter what is going on in the world, there might be fighting about different religions or saying about different races or different beliefs. But we can say that doesn't matter at Wincham. It doesn't matter what you believe. You are welcome here. It doesn't matter what the colour of your skin is, what your religion is. You are welcome at Wincham. So there's all these things, and we can make Wincham a peaceful place. We can make Wincham a happy place where it doesn't matter who it is that's there. And then all of you guys can grow up in a peaceful place. That's what we're going to try and do. So we're going to do a bit of work about it this week. You might have started it, you might not. We'll do a little bit of work about it this week, talking about what we're going to do to make Wincham a nice place to be. Have a lovely rest of the day, guys. Bye-bye.